So what's up, guys? I don't think I'll get much argument from you to say that 2017 was an amazing year for AMD's processor division. Their Zen architecture to really pushed Ryzen and Threadripper forward as a really good alternative to Kaby Lake X and Skylake X processors, and Ryzen even proved to be a good alternative to Coffee Lake. But at CES 2018, AMD's taking the lid off the next generation of processors and their graphics chips that are coming much sooner than you might think, and I'm super excited about them, and you guys should be too. By the way, huge thank you to our sponsors, Fantex, Corsair, and Cooler Master, for making the show possible. Now, before I get into the actual products, I think it's important to explain AMD's plan to either match or pull ahead of Intel in the short-term to mid-term future. And one of the primary challenges over the last decade or so was, and still is, AMD's manufacturing process inferiority. While Intel CPU was using the 22nm to 14nm lithography, AMD was stuck on the 28nm since 2014. And this obviously placed them in disadvantage when it comes to power consumption, heat, and die size. Now, Ryzen marked the move to a much more efficient 14nm process, but that was just the beginning. And in 2018, we will see AMD's first move to a 12nm node for both desktop and mobile processors, whereas Intel will remain with their refreshed 14nm technology until Cannon Lake is launched on the 10nm later this year. Amazingly, AMD is actually thinking to move into the 7nm process come 2019. But what does that actually mean for you if you're looking towards AMD in the future? Well, there will be a rapid rollout of new Zen-based processor architectures. The first out of the gate will be the Zen Plus, which uses the 12nm manufacturing process to deliver up to 10% better performance by optimizing in some key areas. CPUs based on Zen Plus are actually sampling to partners right now in preparation for a launch in April. Now, make sure you realize that there won't be any fundamental changes to the overall Zen architecture until Zen 2 launches in 2019 with that 7nm process. And Zen Plus will basically be a refreshed design that also will be able to achieve higher sustained clock speeds. But the cool thing about the Zen 2 is that its design is already complete. And basically, AMD has two CPU teams that are leapfrogging each other. So once the Zen architecture was complete, that team moved on to the Zen 2 architecture, while the other team started working on the Zen Plus architecture. And now they're moving into the design stages of the Zen 3. Which will be sometime in 2020. So AMD is seriously moving fast. And there's more to all of this than just changing manufacturing processes too, because AMD is also trying to move beyond the usual 7 to 8% yearly performance increase. But AMD thinks they can push things even further and offer their clients much more performance with each new cycle. AMD will be launching a new series of desktop APUs that combine Ryzen processor cores with Vega integrated graphics units. These used to be codenamed Raven Ridge, and there's something odd about them too. Even though they will have the 2000 series name, unlike other 2000 series CPUs, they will use the original Zen architecture rather than Zen Plus. And I'm not sure why AMD is doing this, because it might cause confusion. But probably most exciting additions to AMD's lineup in 2018 comes the new next generation of Ryzen processors with the second generation of Ryzen CPUs, which are based on the 12nm Zen Plus core design. There will be a full lineup being launched with a new series of motherboards and brand new features, but don't worry, current boards will be compatible with Ryzen 2000 series processors. Not only that, but in the second half of the year, Zen Plus will be used to refresh Threadripper into a newer and faster beast. It'll be another super busy year here at Hard Rock Canucks, and I'm super excited to check it out, and you should too. And in order to prepare their current lineup for the arrival of new processors, there have been some price cuts, which you'll see almost immediately. For example, the 1900X has received a big $100 price cut, because I'm guessing the upcoming 2800X will have a very similar performance in some instances. The rest of the Ryzen 7 lineup has also received nice price drops, ranging from $150 for the 1800X to $15 for the Ryzen 5 1500X. And you also notice the addition of two new APUs with the standard Ryzen cores and Vega graphics, the 4-core 8-thread Ryzen 5 2400G at $170 and the quad-core Ryzen 3 2200G for just $99. And these will actually act as lineup replacements for AMD's Ryzen 5 1400 and Ryzen 3 1200. Okay, so that pretty much wraps up the lineup of AMD's processors, but what about the graphics? Well, that is one area where they need help the most, But unfortunately, it looks like there's going to be a bit of a wait until Radeon series can pull free of Vega's failures. There is hope on the horizon though, so check this out. Sometime in 2018, we'll see Vega architecture transition to a 7nm manufacturing process, but there is no word whether or not gaming cards will actually receive this refresh. But I'm guessing not. There won't be any significant core changes, but supposedly AMD already has 7nm cores in hand for use in their Radeon Instinct MI25 cards that are used for deep learning algorithms. The first significant change for the consumer cards would likely come with Navi, which is due in 2019, and then there'll be a brand new architecture coming in 2020, which should utilize an optimized 7nm manufacturing process. But here's the issue though, we're still waiting for the lower end Vega cards outside the Vega 56 and 64 variants. And AMD has also announced dedicated notebook GPUs based on the Vega architecture, and it could be these mobile cores will eventually morph into lower end desktop variants that will finally be able to go up against the GTX 1060 or the GTX 1050. Unfortunately, AMD wasn't really able to provide us with any more information about the specifications or any official launch dates for these mobile GPUs, but it looks like there'll be some notebook designs with them before Q2 of 2018. It does look like there's a single stack of HBM2 memory, so that means memory would likely be between 4GB and 8GB, and there are also a few notebooks on display at CES, and we'll have to make sure to check those out in the coming days. Okay, so that wraps up this video. There's a lot to be excited from AMD coming in 2018. Make sure to check out our Ryzen 2 coverage and their whole APU direction. I'm Dmitry. Thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned for more CES coverage.